Hello, my name is Tim McKee. Hopefully you're hearing us okay. My name is Tim McKee and I'm the CEO of the Olathe Chamber of Commerce. And like many of you, I am working out of my home due to the coronavirus pandemic. Many of our businesses have been forced to do the same and to help reduce the spread of the virus throughout our community. Therefore, this has created many problems for our businesses to stay open and are struggling at the time. And luckily, our local, state, and federal governments have stepped up to provide assistance for us through this time. The Olathe Chamber of Commerce, we'd like to be a resource of information to our local businesses on how to access help and work efficiently in these trying times. So right now we have a webinar and we've got 3 individuals that are going to introduce themselves and then provide some information, about 10-15 minutes of information on how to access assistance through this time. So right now I'd like to introduce Tom Salisbury with the Small Business Administration. Tom, are you on the line? If not, I'm going to go right over to Monica Brede with the Kansas Department of Commerce. Monica?
Hi. Hopefully everyone can hear me well. Really wanted Tom to go first because he has the most important information to share. I'm with the Kansas Department of Commerce. I'm the regional project manager that covers the Johnson County area. So I work with businesses on state incentives and resources on how to grow your business with assistance and to be able to maximize those. So some of the things that are happening with the Kansas Department of Commerce, I encourage everyone to follow their webpage, their website with kansascommerce.gov, because it has the most up-to-date information about what's available for resources for the COVID-19 pandemic. We have a couple of resources that we have already issued and gone through the funds, and that was the higher funds, which was for our hospitality industry. And those applications are still being accepted even though the funds have been distributed, because if we are able to access more funds, we will distribute more money. So if you have applied for those funds and were initially denied or not receiving any funds, then you can still apply and they're going to be reviewed in the order that they were received. So don't stop applying for those. Tim,
Monica, why don't we go ahead and introduce Jack as well, and then
okay.
Hopefully Tom's going to get back on, and then we can jump right back into your presentation.
Perfect. No, perfect.
So, Jack, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Jack Harwell. I'm with the Kansas Small Business Development Center, the SBDC. We're at Johnson County Community College, and my background is primarily manufacturing, distribution, logistics, everything supply chain. I've been there for 4 years, and you know, I'm an advisor there.
Thanks, Jack. And I believe we have Tom now back on the line. Tom, are you there? We, during this time as well, too, if you have questions that you'd like to ask on this call, we have a chat feature that access information or provide information to us so that we can give to our speakers. So, Tom?
I am online.
Yay.
Perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
Thank you for joining us this morning. Okay, back to you, Tim.
I felt like I was doing the old cell phone thing. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? And it wasn't going well.
So, Tom, go ahead and introduce yourself, your background, and we'll jump into your presentation as well.
Okay, I'm Tom Salisbury. I'm the regional minister for what is known as Region 7 of the Small Business Administration. That encompasses 4 states, including Kansas, along with Iowa, Missouri, and Nebraska. I've been in this position for 2.5 years. I come from the banking industry, if you will, and these are strange and challenging times. And so shall I just go into my comments?
Yes, please, Tom. Go right ahead.
Very good. Will do. So, and today is a good example of kind of what we're dealing with at this point. We are at the SBA. We are currently experiencing an absolute crush onto our systems because of some of the things that most of you are probably aware about: the stimulus bill and the what is generally referred to as the payroll or paycheck protection program that was incorporated in that bill. And so I thought I might just speak a little bit about the couple of different ways that folks can access the SBA. The SBA is absolutely committed to assisting small businesses to start, to grow, and expand. And in this particular environment, we will call it even assist with disasters. We have a very significant disaster program that is up to now experienced largely disasters that were fairly localized, floods, tornadoes, hurricanes, things of that sort, where we could put boots on the ground and go to a specific location and kind of assess the damage and so forth. Well, this damage, as everybody knows, is largely kind of in the cloud or invisible mentally, but not, or invisible physically, but not necessarily mentally. So what we've done is we've created a couple of programs in response to this particular disaster that is nationwide in scope, border to border, coast to coast. And one of those programs is specific to SBA, and I'll speak briefly to that. And the other program is the program that's been incorporated in the stimulus bill that was passed last weekend and signed into law by the president and is essentially rolled out this morning. And because people were standing by, and because again it's such a large group that is affected by this, the system is being stressed. There might be people on the line that are experiencing difficulty in getting into the system, and that is not uncommon. You're not alone. It's pretty well nationwide. Folks are getting in, and it's simply just a kind of a repetition thing to finally get access once you make that particular attempt. So very quickly, what we're dealing with here, let's talk about payroll protection first. That is the program that is offered through the stimulus bill. That program allows small businesses to access this particular program through the relationship they've got with their lender rather than the SBA. We endorse and applaud that. That's always been the relationship that we've had with small businesses, is through their lender, and this program allows for that. So simply put, very quickly, the dynamics go like this. There's the people that want to access this that haven't already done it should go to the Treasury, Department of Treasury website. We're presenting this program in conjunction with Treasury, and on that website is an opportunity to open up and access an application. It's pretty simple. It's 2 pages. There's 2 more pages of instructions, but the application is pretty simple, and it's designed to give businesses help with maintaining their payroll through this crisis. So the business would access the application. They would fill it out. They would contact their lender. Most of the lenders are playing in this game. I can't say that it's universal, but it's generally most, various shapes and sizes. Some folks have an existing relationship with the SBA. Others have got one that has been idle. Others don't have that relationship. Within that legislation that I'm talking about, every single lender in the country has been granted authority to do business with the SBA. So that's the access. It's generally universal. There are some details that go through with this. Your banks have been on a number of calls with both us at the SBA and others as well, kind of laying out some of the details that go along with this. But simply put, when you reach your lender, and I've made comments in other situations where I said go to your bank. Well, we all understand that you can't go to your bank today, so go to your bank is a reference. You would access your bank either by phone or by email, and then it would be incumbent upon the bank to get that application in front of the bank electronically somehow, digitally somehow. The bank would then review those considerations within the application, and they are not extensive. It's simply a matter of a business stating their average monthly payroll, the payroll that they either are challenged in meeting at this time or have maybe stopped meeting. But the information is simply your average monthly payroll. It's put into a formula, and then that is considered the elements of the loan request. It's just that simple. That again goes to your lender. The lender reviews it, might have some comments or questions for you in that regard, but once the lender and the borrower have that conversation, the lender sends it on to the SBA, and they have a facility to do that. It's reviewed at the SBA. Its Treasury is then brought in to be notified of the request of the amount. The amount is then the request, is returned back to the bank as approved. The request amount is delivered to the bank by the Treasury, and the bank then funds the loan request. That's kind of the process. There are other elements to this that involve the bank having to do with guarantees. The loan percentage rate is 1%. And the term is 2 years. So that's in essence what this particular program looks like. If you try to access your bank, it's likely that they will be busy because this is unfolding today. And again, our systems have certainly been stressed over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I would expect the bank to be busy in this case because there are a number of people trying to access this system. I'll quickly go into the other option. Do I have a couple more minutes?
Tom, go right ahead. You've got plenty of time.
Okay. So to go into the other opportunity or option, the SBA, of course, has a website, and that would be sba.gov, G-O-V. Treasury is treasury.gov, G-O-V. On the SBA website, there's an opportunity on the front page to click on a link that says Learn More about Coronavirus Disaster Assistance. There are similar elements to our program as it is with the lender program. We kind of applaud the lender program because, again, it keeps that relationship with your local lender that most of you have a familiarity with. But on the website of the SBA, when you click on the Learn More link, then you're delivered to a page that has 3 colored balloons on the page, and one of the balloons is blue, and it says Apply Online. The other balloons are an opportunity to collect some more information about disaster assistance. But on that Apply Online, there's an opportunity to apply for a loan. That maximum loan amount is $2 million. Most people will be asking for something significantly less than that. And by the way, I should veer off and say that the maximum loan on the bank side program is $10 million. That's an adjustment legislatively from our normal maximum amount of $5 million. That loan amount has been expanded to 10. And again, there will be companies that might be able to achieve that higher level, but mostly this is for folks that would be asking for significantly less money to maintain their payroll. Back to the SBA. That particular loan is titled an Economic Injury Disaster Loan, and that is what it is designed to address. Loss of revenue, problems with payroll. It's in many ways similar to the one from the lender, but it's got a little bit more detail to it having to do with economic injury. There are questions on that particular application that folks can answer by not only using just their knowledge, but they can also refer to tax information from 2018, since 2019 is not accessible right now. So it would be 2018 tax information. They can request a loan to support the needs of their business during this challenging time, things having to do with, again, payroll, mortgage payments, lease payments, rent payments, utilities, necessary needs of the business to keep the business functional during this time. And that loan request can then be submitted online to the SBA. So this is a direct loan from the SBA. That's the unusual environment that we do actually make direct loans in, is in a disaster scenario. So that's submitted to the SBA. That loan will be presented at 3.75% interest for a 30-year term. And again, the loan will be reviewed, it'll be approved, or it perhaps will be declined. If it's declined, the borrower has an opportunity to appeal and make another case for that particular loan. If it's approved, it's funded, and the funds make their way to the borrower. And of course, then this loan program is finite. It has a start date, and it has an end date. That end date is June the 30th of 2020. So it is a very finite program. It has specific parameters. It is designed to be used particularly for this disaster scenario. It has very specific uses that it's set up for. It has a finite, the funding for this program is also finite. There's a finite amount of funds that are dedicated for this program, and only if and when there's perhaps another stimulus, when this funding runs out, then the program ceases to exist. That's pretty quick, folks. I want to be sensitive to your time. I want to make sure that everybody understands we're here for you. We're at your service. Again, our mission is to assist small businesses in being able to survive and present themselves to customers and clientele. We are pleased to be working with Treasury on this particular lender relationship program. So again, perhaps this is a good time for me to end my comments. If anybody that's managing the program thinks I left something out, please let me know. Or also, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Tom, thank you very, very much. On this call as well is Susie Carson, our VP membership, and she's going to handle our chat feature. So if you have questions, and I know a few of you have already sent in a couple of questions to Tom, I'm going to turn it over to Susie real quick in between Monica and Jack, and go straight to those questions so that Tom can answer a couple of them. So Susie?
Yes, thank you. Good morning. So we have 3 different questions. The first one is, do you know if banks are accepting applications today for the PPE program?
Yes, that particular program was essentially made live earlier this morning, and so the entire lender community across the country is I'll just use the term open for business in this particular program.
Okay, my next question is, do you know the URL or the exact link on the SBA.gov website?
It would be www.sba.gov. That'll open the landing page, and on that landing page, again, on a banner across the top is a yellow banner that says that references coronavirus, and there's a link that says "Learn More."
Okay, we have a few more coming in. Does the payroll calculation take 1099 contractors into account, or does it only cover W-2 employees?
1099 contractors are eligible in this particular program to state their loss of revenue that's payroll related for their contract work. Yes.
Okay. Next question. Is the payroll based on W-2 wages? If business is an LLC, is there a way to get help with payments to members of the LLC?
Sure. So again, I guess my short answer to that question is that is a function of the application. I don't want to understate or overstate the importance of the application, but the application is extremely simplified. On the application, the front page of the application, there is simply a box, and on that box, the box is asking for average payroll. So anybody that doesn't have a W-2 or some tax document that supports that, the opportunity is there, for example, like an LLC, the opportunity is there within that box for that particular business to simply state what the average payroll expense, and payroll can be is a fluid term. So whatever is being paid to people that are associated with the particular business in a given month, a number is the number, and then you would expand that number by the number of employees and their various payroll amounts in the month, and you would simply enter one amount. I hope that wasn't a confusing answer. Did it make sense to you, Sandy?
So I see Park Street Pastry shaking their head no. So can you establish that one more time? Can you clarify that a little bit?
Sure. So, and I don't want to overcomplicate this. Using a business that doesn't have W-2s, for example, if somebody takes a salary out of the business because they're a partner or they're a part owner or whatever the case might be, we at the SBA and the Treasury, this is a good faith program. So we at the SBA and the Treasury are going to rely on the submission by the business as to what their average payroll is in a given month, and use that to support the loan request. That's another reason this is beneficial to be doing it with your lender, because your lender will certainly know the veracity of your answer, and the lender is simply being asked to review that particular request, counsel with the borrower on that particular amount, but the amount is strictly amount that's determined by, again, using W-2s and whatever else is done in a given month to compensate the people for their particular participation at that business.
Perfect. Hey, so we are going to move on here, but Tom, I do have one more question, if you don't mind, because a couple of people have typed this. First
Sure.
off, if they've already applied for the EIDL loans on Monday, do you know what turnaround time they're looking for on receiving those funds? And then two, should they expect a confirmation email to come back, or is just a confirmation number sufficient?
Yes, there won't be any confirmation emails. The EIDL loan program is in process. I know that some funding has started to be delivered to the borrowers. So I'll just use the term to expect the funding in days rather than weeks and months. Certainly not months and weeks, but payments have started to make their way to borrowers, and that gives me one more opportunity to maybe to say something for clarification. Nobody is prevented from applying for both programs. So that if you apply for EIDL, you can also apply for the payroll protection program. The one stipulation that is critical is if you apply for both and you receive funds from one and then funds for the other, you cannot use both funds for the same purpose. So I mentioned some of the considerations: payroll, mortgage, lease, rent, utilities, things like that. So if you take one set of funds and direct it to payroll, then you are not to use funds from the other request on payroll as well, or any other consideration. The one must not be used for the same purpose in the other.
Okay, Tom, thank you very, very much. And if you'd stay on the line, we may have more questions at the end, but we're going to jump over to Monica at this time. And Susie, if you can help us unmute her and allow Monica to join the conversation and discuss, obviously, the state level and things like that. So Monica, go ahead.
All right, thank you. And I apologize. I was only supposed to be introducing myself earlier, but I got excited. So, because the information is so exciting. So, as I was stating earlier, Kansas Department of Commerce, please follow their website, because we are putting information on the website as fast as we receive it, trying to keep it up to date. As Tom had said, some of this information is changing rapidly, so we want to make sure that that information is being disseminated accurately to everyone. I also encourage, if you're following any type of a social media, to follow the Kansas Department of Commerce social media accounts, because there is information that's being uploaded to those accounts as well as soon as we receive it. So as I was saying about the hire fund, which was a fund that was implemented right away a couple of weeks ago, and the funds were actually exhausted within the first 24 hours of it, to help the hospitality industry, our restaurants, our hotels. Those applications are still being accepted, so that if we're able to fund that account again, that we can fund more businesses. That our Network Kansas is our partner with that has been reviewing those applications. There's also been, I've been asked many questions regarding unemployment, and I am not an unemployment expert, but because I work with small businesses, and some of those small business or sole proprietors need to apply for unemployment because that has been stated that they would qualify for unemployment. I have been receiving those unemployment questions. The big question that I've been asked, I did get an answer to yesterday by watching one of the Facebook, Governor Kelly Facebook notifications that came out. So if you are a sole proprietor or a small business and you're needing to have employees or yourself file for unemployment, you do qualify for the unemployment, but you have to be denied by your state first. And then there's a federal program that is called the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program that will then allow you to qualify for unemployment that way. But you do have to apply through the state first, and you will be denied. That is the first step. When this Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program is going to go live, I didn't catch that if it was stated. I know that it was something that's in the process. Where it states to place who your employer is, if you are your own employer, you need to state your name and your address, or your business address as your own employer. We're working closely with the SBA. The Kansas Department of Commerce website has a chat group to be able to ask questions. Just like the SBA, it crashed because it was being flooded, I guess. So I believe that they are expecting that chat group to be up and live again with some modifications beginning Monday. So if you are filling out some of these applications, they're hoping to have it up going before Monday, but we're promising Monday at this point. So as you're completing some of these applications or wanting questions on assistance, we are partnering with the SBA and offering that chat room as a way to get some of your questions answered. As far as the state goes, feel free to reach out to myself or anybody with Kansas Department of Commerce to ask questions on other assistance for your business. The state has incentives, tax credits that if you're growing your business, and there actually are a few that are able to flourish right now because of the pandemic and the nature of their business, you still can access those incentives during this time as well. As far as what I had to share, I did want to share one item on my screen, and I can have Tim or Casey send this out. This is part of SBA, and Tom was calling in by phone, but this was a great spreadsheet that was sent to me yesterday that kind of went through all the different assistance programs through the SBA and the Paycheck Protection Program, stating, the eligibility, where can you access them, some of those general questions that if you're trying to figure out what's best for your company to use and for your business to use, this might be a good resource to go to and look at. So hopefully Tim and his team can make sure that all of you have access to this spreadsheet. I don't know that it is on any website at this time, because if you notice at the very top, it says it's a work in progress. So as things change, this is updated. And I don't know how to get that off my screen now. Thank you, whoever did that for me. I didn't get it. So I don't have as much as Tom had. So hopefully, if you do have questions, please feel free to ask them.
And once again, the chat room, please type in your questions, and hopefully we can direct those to any of our speakers.
It looks like the only question we got, Tim, they seem very interested in that sheet. So if we can get a copy of that, Tim, can we post that on our resource page?
We can. We will for sure. So,
And when I receive updates to it, I'll be sure to forward those to you so you can update your resource page.
Thank you. For those of you that don't know, olathe.org, and if you just hit the coronavirus picture in the very front page, it'll lead you to, we have a whole list of state, local, and federal resources that we hope you will look into accessing.
Monica, thank you very, very much. With that, and if you would stay on the line as well too.
Absolutely.
And so if there's any questions at the end, we're going to go ahead and jump over to Jack. So Jack, take it away.
Okay. Thanks, Tim. I do have a little presentation to share. Just some tips. What I'm going to address is just some tips to operate your business during the crisis. And because we're the best kept secret in Kansas City, I wanted to make sure that everybody knew about the Kansas SBDC. We're a grant funded program. Our role is to help grow Kansas entrepreneurs, both startups and existing businesses. We're at Johnson County Community College, but we serve 3 counties, Johnson, Wyandotte, and Miami. If you'd like to become a client, here's a link, and we can certainly share it with the Olathe Chamber. I'm sure they probably already have it. One thing I need to mention though is our services are grant funded, so we're prepaid by your tax dollars, and there's no charge for you to receive one-on-one advising confidentially from our advisors. One thing I wanted to do, the recommendation that the Office of the SBDC and at Johnson County has decided is that we believe there's a 2-step cash strategy that most business owners should consider. First step is to apply for the EIDL loan. And even if you don't intend to take that money, which you don't have to do, so you can apply for the loan, get approved, and not take the money. But by applying for the EIDL loan, you can request an emergency EIDL grant. That is a grant provided by the SBA up to $10,000. Up to $10,000. They will determine the actual amount for your business. It's supposed to be paid in 3 days. So you give them your bank routing number and account number, and that is supposed to come to you in 3 days, and you don't have to pay it back. So that's free money. It's a grant. And so that's an immediate injection of cash that you might need for your business. And then step 2 would be apply for the Paycheck Protection Program that Tom mentioned in his discussion. So I won't go through that any more detail, but we believe that by getting that immediate cash from the EIDL grant and then applying for the Paycheck Protection Program could help you keep your employees on the payroll and also continue to operate your business at whatever level you're able to do today. The next thing we recommend is to build out a cash flow program or a plan. So look out a minimum of 13 weeks and figure out how much money you need and when you'll run out. Of course, you want to be realistic about the sales in this period. Don't assume that there's going to be some instant recovery coming soon. Be pessimistic about this, and then look at all your bills, contact your landlord, your banker, your vendor, and ask for more time to pay. But don't be demanding. Understand that they're in the same situation you're in. Keep communicating and don't burn your bridges. So this is just a quick mock-up, and I can share these slides with Susie and get them distributed. But step one would be to figure out how much cash you have available. Take the cash you have, add up all your bills that are due now, and then figure out your net cash available. And step two would be to figure out what's the gap by taking your net cash available and subtract your future expenses to figure out what that gap in funds is. This is how much money you would need to continue to operate the next 13 weeks. And then the third step is to figure out your burn rate. What are your future expenses? Divide that by 3 months, and then now you have your average monthly expenses. And then step four is how much time do you have? Take that net cash, divide by your burn rate, and that's how much time you have before running out. So hopefully this will be a little framework of quick calculations that will help you figure out your situation on cash. And here's an example. I won't go through it in detail so we have time for more questions, but I did a step-by-step of the math to show, in this case, I have 1.6 months before I run out of cash based on my burn rate. And just some other tips real quick. Of course, you want to remember cash is king. Understand your break-even point. How much sales do you have to break even, and where are you? Stay on top of your accounts receivable. Have you talked to if you have business interruption insurance, you might want to contact them to see if this is covered. Reduce your expenses and maximize margins. Look hard at what you're spending money on. Stop printing in color. Start printing black and white because that's cheaper. Review all your purchases. If you have a team that does purchasing, if I were an owner, I would want to see every purchase going forward to help train them on what the new realities are that they have to operate within. Lead and communicate with your employees. Be transparent and flexible. Be empathetic. Understand that their situation could be as dire as your business. And these are people that have helped you get where you are, so help them get through this. Focus on your customer. Be transparent. Show empathy to them and sincerity. You know, one advice is don't be posting happy pictures of big groups of people enjoying themselves. You know, reflect the reality that we're all in today. The next one is to build rapport and create relationships. What you want to do here is focus on building leads, building new followers. Don't focus so much on revenue because revenue will come as it can. But what you want to do is think beyond this crisis and take the opportunity to start building your business or preparing to build your business when we get out of this. And then last, think out of the box. And I know you've seen a lot of this. Dining restaurants converting to drive-ins, fitness centers that have closed are now having online fitness classes for their customers. So these are just some of the tips that we're giving our clients and helping them think through this crisis. And that's all I have. So I'll turn it back over to Tim.
Jack, thank you very, very much. That was wonderful. Once again, please feel free to ask any questions. And with that, Susie, I'm going to turn it over to you. I know you've been handling the chat. So are there any questions that we can ask Jack?
Absolutely. We do have a few questions. This may be for Monica, Tom, or Jack. I'll let you guys. This one might be for Tom. It says, can the PPP funds be used for the same expenses but during different pay periods? And can they also be used retroactively?
I'm here and I heard the question, and I have to say I don't completely understand the question. I'm not sure what so let me give a broad answer and hope that it's the right speaking to the right question. Well, there were two things there. Go ahead, please.
Let me clarify. It says, for example, if we use PPP funds for payroll during May and June, can we use EIDL funds for payroll during July and August?
My answer to that is that's not the way it's intended, and that would put you at risk for some sort of, just use the word violation. And part of that answer is because this is designed specifically for short-term funding. I believe there's no expectation within the legislation or the funding that those fundings will necessarily be necessary in, I think you said August. So this truly is, we'll call it, this is a 1 quarter type of program. It's designed to essentially give folks a 90 days worth of funding. That's the expectation. The kind of turn my head a little bit and say it out of the corner of my mouth answer is, if you have leftover funds and you're back open, I don't know that there's any particular way we could assess where those remaining dollars were spent, but the intent is to get folks on the payroll, back on the payroll during these next 3 months of April, May, and June, just to give you kind of a finite time frame. How's that?
I think that works. I'm getting a response right now. The next question is, what proof will be required, and how is that to be provided?
Is that for me? Did you say proof?
Yes, it says, has the SBA determined what proof will be required to comply with the PPP, and how is that to be provided? Okay,
so in either case, in the case of the PPP with the lender, if there's a tax document from 2018 that can support your payroll contention, that would be the perfect source. W-2s, ledger sheets, just something that you have, and this is a broad answer, but it's intentionally that way. Something that you have that you can defend, that shows, that fundamentally confirms the number that you're requesting on that front page of the application. Again, it's only one box, and the box says monthly average payroll. So within your business, recover a document or documentation that can support that number, and that's all you need, both on the, and now that's on the PPP side. On the idle side, depending on the level of your request or there's a loss of revenue component, tax documentation, again from 2018, would be the best supporting document for that request.
Okay. Okay, a few more questions that I think if you could possibly, again, this one is to Tom, if you could just give some clarifications about the type of employees that can be considered part of this PPP program. I have got questions about, does it cover part-time employees? Does it cover employees that have not they were hired, but they hadn't been onboarded yet? So if you could just give some clarification as far as the employees that can be included in this program, I think that would cover
Sure.
multiple questions.
Sure, good question. So the key date, and this is built into the legislation, but the key date is February the 15th of 2020. So all folks, any and all folks that were on payroll on February 15th of 2020 would be your first consideration. Second of all, obviously, in seasonal business, we get asked about seasonal businesses. So if a seasonal business isn't obviously in operation in 2020, then go to maybe your busiest month during that seasonal. I'm of course thinking of lawn services and things of that sort. But go to your busiest month and determine your payroll for that particular busiest month and use that for. And we've been asked about part-time employees. We've been asked about contract employees. Contract employees should not be counted because they have the opportunity to access this on their own. But part-time employees are absolutely qualified. So again, folks, this program is designed to get money in folks' hands as quickly as we can, and we're asking for some fundamental information to use to determine that funding. You have the opportunity to be, I will just say, generous, but be able to defend. I mean, if you have a part-time employee and can identify that person, that works. Don't make up employees. That could cause you a problem, but you have the freedom to add people to your payroll count and your payroll assessment based on what your knowledge is of the busiest times of your business. For a benchmark, it's February 15th of 2020.
Perfect. Okay, one more question I think that keeps coming up is, what is the threshold, or is there a threshold for the PPP and the EIDL program as far as how many employees a business has? Is there a threshold?
That's a good question. We are using the standard rules that the SBA operates under legislatively. Any business that's 500 people or fewer counts. Within the content, and I don't want to muddle this up, so for the benefit of this conversation, 500 or fewer, there are some considerations having to do with special projects that might have exceeded the head count briefly and so forth. And I'll make one more comment on this because it may impact somebody that's on the line. We have rules relative to corporations and associations and things of that sort that generally that's a cumulative number. So for example, if somebody owns a hotel chain and they may have 12 hotels, and that those 12 hotels added together exceeds 500 employees, in most circumstances that would not be considered. In this circumstance, those considerations have been waived. Every hotel location, and I'm just using hotels as an example, but every hotel location can be considered independently of it on its own merits. Same thing goes for franchises. So if somebody owns a number of McDonald's and they blow past the number because of that, same rules apply. Each and every McDonald's location, and again, that's only an example, but each and every location can be considered on its own merits. That is a consideration that takes us out of the normal SBA circumstance.
Susie, are there others? Are we getting a few more? Please, anyone that has a question, please.
Yes, I apologize. No, there are definitely more. I'm just trying to scroll through and condense what I can. What else can the funds be? Okay, can an EIDL loan be used on pre-existing liabilities?
Can EIDL, that would not likely pass the test. This is the EIDL and the PPP are designed for economic loss and injury during this specific time period. And again, the benchmark date is February 15th of 2020. We talked about employees and how you can move around on that date, but in terms of economic injury, that February 15th is pretty structured, pretty strict.
Okay, I believe this is for you again, Tom. When putting estimated payroll, is that base salaries only, or does payroll, taxes, benefits, everything included?
All of those things are included, including health benefits. Dental and vision should not be counted, but any health benefits can also be added to that payroll calculation.
Okay. Perfect.
Susie, before we go on, before the end of the call, I'd like Monica and Jack, just to have, and Tom to have, a very brief wrap up as well. So if Monica and Jack, if you can think about that as well for just a second. But we'll just go back to the questions, and at the very end, if you can give us a brief wrap up, that would be great. So Susie, keep going.
And if I may, with my apologies, I need to exit this call in about the next couple of minutes. I've got another obligation that I can't push back, so I apologize for that. So I don't need to make any particular exit comments. So if there's other questions for the next minute or two,
no, that'd be great.
Yeah, actually, if it's okay, for everyone that's on this call, we are actually keeping track of all these questions over here. And what we'll do, if we have not answered your questions, we will actually type these out and get the best answer that we can using our experts today, Monica, Jack, and Tom. And actually, Tim, are we comfortable posting this on the website as well, the
Yeah.
question?
Not a problem. Not a problem at all.
Okay, so if you guys answered a question and either I did not ask it completely how it was intended, or perhaps we skipped over it, please check our website, hopefully either later today or Monday, probably Monday, and we will get all these, the transcripts recorded. And we also, yes, we are recording this, and we will also post that as well. I just received that question. So if you want to just have Monica and Tom and Jack wrap it up, if that'd be okay, Tim?
No, that'd be fine.
I'm going to excuse myself, folks. Thanks very much. It's good to be on with you. Take care.
Tom, thank you very, very much. That was very helpful. So with that, Monica, go ahead.
My follow-up is, number one, I would like Jack's presentation. And number two, make sure that you're following Kansas Commerce website and any social media, because that is truly where you're going to get the most up-to-date information. And if there's any type of news or press releases, those are going to be immediately out there to you and available to you. Otherwise, you might be waiting for emails from like Olathe Chamber and Economic Development from it, so that way you're getting it much faster and can act on it. And thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Monica. Jack, go right ahead.
Yeah, sure. Again, remember the two-step process, but I would also recommend that you move quickly if you're deciding you need to access these funds. A lot of chatter from the banks that they're afraid that they're going to get overwhelmed, so it may delay the payments. There's also concern being floated about whether $350 billion is enough. So I would encourage you to act quickly. One thing that may not have been mentioned is the SBA has opened up the Paycheck Protection Program to all banks. So you don't have to go to a SBA lender to access those funds. Any bank in the country can do that. So if you have a relationship with a non-SBA bank, I would go there first and see if you can't get them to do the loan for you. And I appreciate the opportunity to spread the word. And if you need any assistance, seek out the SBDC at Johnson County Community College.
Jack, would it be okay if we go ahead and share your presentation on the website as well, too?
Sure, absolutely.
That is great. So once again, thank you. I'd like to thank all our speakers, Tom, Monica, and Jack, for joining us today. And thank you all for sitting in and listening to this presentation. We hope that in the future, we'll be able to bring you more of these presentations and be able to help answer questions or concerns that you might have. Please, we will post all of this on our website, this presentation, all the materials, and hopefully answer most of the questions that you have. We hope to have a presentation, more of these presentations in the future. So with that, Susie, did I miss anything?
No, I would just, one more time, like I said, we're going to post all of this on the website. We're going to post our contact information. We'll also post the questions, all the presentation material that was provided today. So please be sure to check back, and we should be able to answer most of these questions. We appreciate everyone joining us.
Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye.